Well, Michael, it is really nice to have you here.
Thank you.
Um, it's, I think you and I met almost a year ago, networking, and we've
Yes.
kind of kept in touch ever since,
Yeah, it's
kind of
been great actually.
catching up. Thank you so much. I've enjoyed giving you all my updates. Um, of course, you are qualified career coach from Realign Your Career. So share a little bit more with us about kind of who you are, what kind of work you do.
Well, I come from a background of many years in recruitment. So
Mm,
some of my stock in trade is through the recruitment industry. Um, Also, partway through that journey, I left recruitment and I had a year out and I studied at university and took a postgraduate diploma in careers coaching.
mm,
So it kind of changed my pathway, really. One
yeah,
of the things in recruitment that I used to struggle with was not really being able to give people a lot of time. And
right.
they'd ask you lots of things, and you couldn't really go into it because you're just almost chasing the invoice, really. That's the business.
Mm,
So for me, it was a change of direction, but it took on board all the stuff I knew about
mm,
how to be a recruiter and how to be successfully supporting somebody in that market.
yeah.
So that's kind of where
Mm,
it led into the qualification.
yeah.
And then I worked, I also have worked as a volunteer for a personal development organization, a training company, a charity
Mm-hmm.
for over 20 years. And in that time, I've worked in sort of strategic roles, but
Mm,
committee roles and things. But I've done a lot of hands-on one-to-one mentoring and buddying. And as
yes.
I grew more and more experienced in the work, I was more
Mm,
able to take that on and willing to take that on.
yeah.
And that practice very much informs how I work as a coach.
Yes.
It's
Okay.
all about how to overcome our
Mm,
minds,
mm,
accusations, and
yeah.
demands that we make upon ourselves, usually based on lies.
Yeah.
And we're not necessarily aligned to who we really are. We can almost create an
Mm,
alter
yeah.
ego of somebody who's lesser than,
Yeah.
and we believe a lot about what we're not good at, and the imposter
Mm,
syndrome, and
yeah.
our motivation dips and
Yeah.
our self-worth dips. But these things have been
Mm,
going on in our heads probably most of our lives, but we
yeah.
don't really
Sure.
realize it until we start to really struggle. So
Yeah.
a lot of the work that I'm doing within my coaching is about personal development work for people and saying, why do you feel that way?
Mm, mm,
People say to me all the time, I'm not good enough, which
mm,
is kind of meaningless, but means something to
mm.
everybody
Sure.
different.
Yeah.
It's like, what does that mean? Why
Mm,
do you think that? Where's that coming from? And helping people
yeah.
to look at what those triggers are,
Mm,
how they can overcome those blocks, and
yes.
supporting themselves to be the best they can be.
Yeah.
And then from that place, you can start to really explore career options and
Mm,
ideas.
mm,
So I suppose
yeah.
I'm coming at it from I've worked as a careers coach within universities as well,
Mm,
um, and within charities as an employment broker, and
okay.
within recruitment, and with
Yeah.
this kind of personal development background to me very strong and
Mm,
very deeply held in my
mm,
being.
yeah.
It's almost like I'm that stick of rock, and you kind of the words are no longer Brighton, they're kind of this personal development organization, and that comes
Uh-huh.
across in my coaching all the time. So it's
Okay.
very much that kind of way of thinking. People saying to me,
Yeah.
I'm not
Right.
really doing very well right now, I'm
Mm,
struggling, and me saying, okay,
okay.
let's talk about that. Why?
Yeah. Yeah. Got you. Got you. And it all kind of, it sounds as though it's like it's a solid foundation of the why, people's minds, mindsets, and then the long-term goal is to work on their career. Um,
Absolutely.
and it sounds as though the mental health side of things is very prominent for you. I know you and I have had conversations about mental health.
Yes, yes, it's
Yeah.
important to me to look at and address these issues and not sort of sweep them to one side, because
Mm,
if you're not really fully appreciating all that you have to offer because your
mm,
head is just
yeah.
skewed,
Mm,
everything you're then presenting is based on I'm not good enough. So your
mm,
CV is based on I'm not good enough. And it
yeah.
becomes a bit of a pretense of
Mm,
rather than really fully owning who you are and
mm,
owning your paperwork and your applications and especially your
yeah.
interviews. So that latter half of the work that I do is built on I'm
Mm,
good enough. If I go into an interview and I'm
mm,
silent, probably not going to get the job, but I'm still
yeah.
good enough.
Oh,
And it's a very different thing to people
yeah.
practicing ways to overcome the fact that they're not good enough.
Yeah.
So
Sure.
the mental health for me is absolutely vital
Yeah.
to our capacity to make
Mm,
change, and to
Mm-hmm.
develop and be the best that we can be in all aspects of our lives.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
my focus is career, clearly.
Career. Yep. Career in business, kind of generally business owners.
Yeah, I
Um,
mean, I think for me it's a bit two-sided in terms of my business. I tend to work with SMEs. It's where I feel I
mm,
belong as a person. I've had corporate backgrounds in my own career,
mm,
and it's not where I feel comfortable as a coach. I'm much
okay.
more in tune with small business owners, small teams, small
Mm,
company cultures,
mm,
bit more touchy-feely, I suppose.
sure.
And I'm
Yep.
talking to business owners about their staffing and their business, and because staffing is
Mm,
their biggest cost usually.
mm-hmm.
And companies are struggling now. Small
Yeah.
SMEs, especially, are struggling because they don't have the reserves
Mm,
to keep going through all these financial
yeah.
bumps.
Yeah.
So they are discussing with me more about
Mm,
redundancy than they ever did. I mean, this
mm,
is not something I was even talking about
yeah.
18 months ago. It's just
Sure.
gradually crept up.
I'm
And I
with
think the
you.
NI contributions and the new
Mm,
legislation is
yeah.
making everyone very jumpy. And
Yeah.
also they just don't have the profit margins that they
Yeah.
had. And they're looking at cost saving, whereas they were looking at growth before.
Mm, yeah. Yeah.
So I think that's something which I talk to people about where they're
Mm,
struggling
yeah.
and offering not an HR
Mm,
redundancy solution because I'm not an HR person,
mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
they need to bring in HR
Yeah.
consultancy or their own expertise if they're going to handle the legal process.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know about it, but I would never advise on it. I mean, I'm just not
Sure.
qualified to do that. What
Sure.
I'm talking about is offering that person or people some transitional
Mm,
coaching to
mm,
support them into the world of unemployment,
yeah.
which can be very, very damning and damaging for
Yeah.
people.
Yeah. Sure.
So it helps an organization to be seen to be doing the right
Mm,
thing as well. It helps to protect their
mm-hmm.
brand.
Yeah.
It certainly helps to settle the rest
Mm-hmm.
of the team because they will tend to see that as
Yeah.
a show of concern and regard,
Sure.
and also a kind of a sign of
Mm,
they have to do it rather than they don't care and they're just
yeah.
willy-nilly making someone with no, this is something that's
Yeah.
heartfelt and they want to offer
Yeah.
this person something and a
Yeah.
cost effective
Yeah.
because they're not going to pay thousands because they would
Mm,
keep the person if they
yeah.
could do
If
that.
they could.
So I tend to
Yeah.
talk to them about now more about what's going wrong than what's going
Mm,
well,
yeah. Yeah.
and offering some performance coaching where it's bumps in the team.
Mm, mm-hmm.
That's to try and stop things escalating, and bringing in HR because that's quite scary for people,
Yeah. Sure.
and the whole team get wobbly.
Mm, mm,
So just ironing out small issues with people through
mm,
coaching is very effective.
sure.
I
Yes.
find it very effective to do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then if they do need to make redundant, which is two separate things
Mm,
really, if they do need to make redundancies, offering them something that they
yeah.
can transition with,
Yeah.
that they have a
Totally.
level of support as they enter that new, very daunting world.
Yeah. Yeah. I think you touch upon something really valid too about how businesses and business owners do really care about their members of staff and each
Yeah,
other. Because, as you know, working with family businesses, and most people listening are also in family businesses, it's one thing I hear over and over again that people care for their staff. And actually, I
yes.
think it's actually a misconception about family businesses that they only care for each other and non-family members of staff get super neglected. I think
That's
it's
not
it's
true in your
false.
findings. No.
No, not at all. And also I think that the mental health piece that we are speaking to it more and more, which is another reason
Yes.
why I wanted to get you on the podcast to talk more about it. Have you found the same with your clients
Yes.
that it sounds as though you
Yes.
have too?
For me, the biggest area of concern for me is
Mm,
not on the B2B side, but on the B2C side, where the bulk of my
okay.
business has always been on private client.
Okay.
Working with anybody over 18 who's stuck and struggling.
Yeah.
Um, One particular
Mm,
group,
mm,
I don't want to sound sexist, but it's men.
yeah.
Men generally, I think, find it much harder to open up and
Mm, mm.
discuss their mental health, their struggles at work.
No, totally.
They are they view it very often as vulnerability
Mm.
equaling weakness.
Yeah.
And there's
Yeah.
no place for that in their work environment, and there's no
Mm.
place for that in their head, in their
Yeah.
life, as their in their role as maybe a husband, father, whatever.
Mm.
And it's very difficult to get men to open up and discuss these
Yeah.
issues.
Yeah.
But
Completely.
it's no accident that when people don't
Mm.
talk, that
Mm.
it gets worse.
Yeah.
And we have terrible statistics in the UK around men and suicide,
Mm.
not least of all that group, sort of mid 40s to sort of
Yeah.
50s. That's
Mm.
that target group, if you like.
Yeah.
And I find I'm talking to people who have been made redundant, who are engaging with
Mm.
me through maybe my social
Mm.
media, things like that, who are not in a position to pay for a fee.
Mm.
You know, and I don't charge
True.
huge amounts of money. I'm charging less than
Mm.
£1,000 for a
True.
coaching package, whether that comes from a
Yeah.
client, business client, or
Mm.
individually.
Mm.
And so everybody says to me, well, that sounds like great value, but if you
Mm.
can't pay the mortgage,
Mm.
it's a luxury that I
Yeah.
can't afford to
Yeah.
be spending right now.
Totally.
And I'm very
Totally.
conscious of that. And
Mm.
I would love to be able to do it all for nothing. I really would. My heart
Mm.
goes out each time I have these calls, and I'm
Mm.
on the verge of
Mm.
saying,
No.
okay,
Like
okay.
do it
But
for
I can't
free.
afford to run a business and do it for nothing. I
Yeah.
just can't.
I feel for you.
So
I get
it's,
that.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
tough. You know, it's tough out on your own to
Yeah.
make it work and make it pay.
Mm.
But, you know, one of the things I'm looking at is trying to create some
Mm.
funding so that I can do just that. I can
Mm.
offer some free coaching
Yeah.
because I have some money that's paying me to coach them. That's
Sure.
not an easy gig either, you know, because I'm
No.
not a charity or a CIC as
Okay.
a profit business.
Yeah.
It's not easy, and I'm in the middle of looking at all sorts of
Mm.
ways of doing that and trying to
Mm-hmm.
tap into sort of male mental health
Okay.
organizations,
Sure.
charities, football, even is my latest thing, which I know nothing about. But
Okay.
I'm told that football clubs can be
Yeah.
quite supportive of men because it's
Mm.
quite male oriented.
Sure.
So I'm doing a lot of
Makes
that
sense.
behind the scenes, but it is definitely a challenge. It's a
Yeah.
challenge. And when
It
I
is.
do have male clients,
Mm.
it usually comes out in the discussions that I'm having. It may not be the
Yeah.
starting point, but there's a lot of issues for men in the workplace and the pressures they feel
Mm. Mm.
and their pressures they're put under at work and actually and at
Absolutely.
home.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
there's this, you know,
Mm.
intolerant, they're intolerant of
Mm.
themselves,
Mm.
and they don't ask for help or
Mm.
support or
Yeah.
guidance, and it just becomes internalized and they end up in
Yeah.
knots.
Yeah. Yeah.
So my role is very much to support somebody to sort of unpick some of that and look at the truth of some
Yeah.
of that, and
Yeah.
to be more open in their communication
Sure.
and
Sure.
to explain
Yeah.
what's going on and to own it and not be
Yeah.
ashamed.
Yeah. How important, you know?
Very.
I think that you touch on some great points there about the pressures at home and at work. And of course, you know me, like my work spreads
Yes,
across all of these different
absolutely
domains.
blends the two.
Yeah, blending the two. And I actually find, as I think about it now, with a lot of my families, it has actually been a woman who tends to reach out and
Yes,
kind of pull a brother or a partner or a dad along with them. So there's an enormous trend
yes,
there, I think, that you rightly make about gender. And I think as well, it can affect men even greatly because women, in my experience as a woman, tend to be quite chatty with each other. I know, speaking
yeah.
for myself, that is me in
I think
safe
it's
spaces.
true. I think
Yeah,
many women have a great network of girlfriends
great outlet.
that they will sit down and quite commonly talk
Sure.
about what's going on in their lives
Yeah.
without necessarily wanting change or solutions, but they're very open to
Sure.
discussing.
Yeah.
Men, I think, are not. There's
Yeah.
the you know, there's that joke about men holding up
Mm.
on the dating site. I don't know if you've ever seen this, but they
Mm.
hold up these great big fishes, and it's like,
Okay.
look what I've caught, and it's like
Mm.
mansplaining or you know, it's like
Oh,
that's the level of conversation. Like, look at the fish, look at the,
oh,
you know, I talk about
oh.
football, or it becomes
Okay.
very much a surface level
Okay.
communication.
Sure.
And very few men will go to the pub and talk to their mates about the fact that they
Yeah.
feel really down and depressed and sad
Very
and upset.
safe
No,
space. Yeah.
it's
It's
trying
the
to
thing.
it's trying to get to that group of people, which
Mm.
doesn't lend well to men
Mm,
who are perhaps those middle management roles, which are
mm,
often cut.
yeah,
You know, the 50,
founders.
60, 70K kind of ops manager type people who
Okay.
can't get back in. The market is
Mm,
terribly, terribly tough. Having
okay.
worked in recruitment for donkeys,
Yeah,
it's a really tough, tough, tough market. I think it's a
sure.
post-COVID fallout.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
trying to get back in at that level, it's
Mm,
so hard, and
yeah,
they can't.
yeah,
Therefore, they seeing everything fall to pieces around them
yeah.
and blaming themselves for it,
Mm,
as against going,
yeah,
I'm a victim of circumstance.
sure,
You know,
sure.
I'm a victim of my company struggling, not
Mm,
me,
yeah,
but I'm taking it on
huge
as being
difference.
a fault of mine.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
very tricky because they
yeah.
would really benefit from the way that I work, and I know they would. I
Mm-hmm.
don't have a list of magical jobs, but I know they would really get back on track with their
Yeah,
self-worth.
yeah.
But it's the payment side.
Mm,
So back to that
mm.
again.
Okay, sure, sure. But I think there's something to be said too about people who are in that kind of pressure, speaking to men in particular here, the pressure that is felt to kind of not make mistakes.
Yeah.
I think that's a big reason why it's not spoken about, and also to like provide for your family.
Yeah.
This because I feel that I'm a good female breadwinner over here, but it is a thing that a lot of the guys out there are feeling that they need to support their family. I know a
Yes.
lot of my male clients say it, and of course, there's when families are literally in it together. If something were to happen to the business, like an entire family
Yes.
ecosystem can be lost
Absolutely. Even
when,
more threatened, really.
yeah, when there is a family business. Um,
I think it's still true, despite all the changes within society and how women are in the
mm,
workplace, and there's more to be done around that. I know,
yeah,
but there's still a very traditional model in the main where you find the man is the
yeah,
breadwinner.
yeah,
The woman is more the housewife, mother, and part-time
sure,
worker. It's more that
sure.
model.
Yeah,
And I think therefore the reliance on the income is still
mm,
with the man.
sure.
And they believe they have to be all things to all
Mm,
people,
mm,
but not express anything to
yeah,
anybody.
yeah, yeah,
So for them to come home and talk about these
mm,
issues, they find
mm,
that just as difficult, if not.
yeah,
And a lot of men will say to me, "Oh, I don't do that.
mm,
It's not fair. I shut the office door and I leave it at work."
mm.
And they absolutely
Okay.
believe they're doing it. But of course, they're
Mm,
not. They're coming home tired, late,
yeah,
irritable, cranky,
great point.
non-communicative. I don't want that.
Yes.
I'm fine. Just
Yeah,
let me eat and rest and go to bed. So they don't want to
yeah,
talk. So
yeah,
the whole thing kind of breaks down at home as well. And of
yeah,
course, that just creates a friction and a lack of empathy.
yeah,
And then you end up with
mm,
somebody who ends up thinking, well, there's no point trying to talk to him. He never
mm,
talks.
yeah,
So it just
gets
breaks
worse.
down the fabric. And I'm
Yeah,
sure with family businesses, there's a
yeah,
tendency for that to happen even more readily
yeah, yeah,
because you're at work with that person. I mean, in some ways, it
mm,
must create an ease in which you're both
yeah.
aware of the issues of the business because you're both in
I think
it.
so. Yeah,
Mine are often
sure.
sort of quite secretive
Yeah.
aspects of what's going on.
Sure. I think for family businesses, they get both. Like sometimes it's a real blessing to have your, say your partner, husband or wife in the business who actually knows everything that's going on. So there doesn't need to be an explanation because they know. But then as you
Yeah.
rightly point out, it's not the case that you just close the door because you travel home with all those
Yes.
same feelings. Like it's
It's a
not like
double-edged sword, isn't
severance.
it? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I remember there's a lovely quote, and I don't think I've got this right, but it's a Brené Brown
Okay.
quote. And
Mm-hmm.
she said that a guy spoke to her in an audience, and she was saying, I suppose I focus on women more than men, to be honest, in terms of the way
Okay.
she communicated and what she was dealing with.
Mm.
And he said to her, my wife and daughter would rather I die in battle than fall off my horse.
Oh, yeah.
And I thought, I really get that. There is
Mm,
a
mm,
pressure as well that women put onto
mm,
men that they
mm,
should be the provider and the man on the gallant horse and
yeah,
saving the day.
yeah,
So there is this also this pressure about men have to be
yeah,
kind, sensitive, loving, open,
sure.
but
And
you've also got
provider.
to be the provider, the
Yeah,
valiant knight.
yeah,
You save the day, be the
mm,
man, and
mm,
that is also a very, very difficult
mm,
position to be in. It's
yeah,
called a lose-lose, really.
yeah, lose, lose completely. And there's so
It's
much that we,
tricky.
yeah, or and awful for that individual or individuals who are going through exactly this.
Tough.
Super tough, awful
Yeah,
tough.
very
Um,
tough.
and I have had it that I've had clients who, of course, work in their family business, but so want to leave, but feel
Yeah,
like they're in almost like a golden cage. That
yes,
to say to, I don't know, say mum and dad who'd founded the business or
yeah,
whatever the setup, it doesn't really
yeah, yeah,
matter, that they actually want to go now and
yes.
feel like absolute like prison sentences. It can feel
Yeah,
that
and
for
it's the
people with family
loyalty factor
businesses.
as well, even more, isn't it, with that? I mean, we can get into loyalty to an employer,
Yeah,
but it's
yeah,
far removed from your employer being your dad.
yeah.
I had a client not that long ago, no, a while ago now, and he's the
Mm,
son of a very, very
mm,
successful family where the man was absolutely the dominant,
mm.
running a business, family business
Yeah,
within that.
yeah.
Sort of different, but they kind of set it
It
up
really
for
was.
him and his brother to run, and he was
Yeah,
really struggling with the relationship with his brother
yeah.
and his father, who had a good relationship with, but the
Mm,
sense of loyalty and
yeah.
pressure that he was
Totally.
taking on board, not because the man was necessarily
Mm,
being difficult
mm,
to work for
mm,
indirectly. The
mm-hmm.
sibling relationship, very challenging,
Yeah, very
but
challenging.
but he felt totally
Yeah,
locked into this.
yeah,
And it
yeah.
was only by exploring really the relationship with both that
Mm.
he could sort of set himself free and be his own man and not leave. Because actually, the
Why?
opportunity was phenomenally good.
Mm.
It was a
Okay.
fabulous opportunity to do something great,
Sure.
but
Sure.
it was a huge undertaking
Okay. And your
when you're
client
not
stayed?
feeling that you've got the support.
Yeah, yeah. In this scenario, you supported your client and he ended up staying in the business.
Yes, very
Okay.
much so. And I knew
Okay.
he wanted to really. I knew he didn't want to walk away from the
Okay.
actual operation that they were setting up
Yeah.
was really fabulous,
Okay.
very appealing in lots of ways.
Yeah.
He didn't really want to walk away from the business per se, but he
Sure.
thought maybe by walking away from the family,
Mm.
he
Yeah.
could be his own person and make his own choices and do
Yeah.
something somewhere else.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
actually, once the relationship with more about him and his brother, really,
Mm. Yeah.
once that was resolved,
Mm.
certainly improved a
Mm.
lot in the time we
Mm-hmm.
worked together.
Yeah.
The father really wasn't the issue.
Yeah.
He
Okay.
wasn't really the issue. He was a
Yeah.
figurehead, really.
Yeah.
But the brother and he were
Yeah.
fighting, and I
Mm.
think the brother was older and felt more dominant.
Mm.
Um, Once
Yeah.
that was resolved
Yeah.
by me empowering my client to
Mm.
be the best that he could
Okay.
be and not
Yeah.
and to let go of the fact that it's a hierarchical thing
Mm.
because he's an older brother,
Yeah.
they were able to sit down and really work together
Yeah.
very differently. So
Yeah.
I do get the dynamic within families. It's not a
Yeah.
specialism for me at all, but I
Sure.
get the dynamic can really
Yeah.
play out.
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, I think you appreciating it already sounds like you did. Amazing
I
work.
certainly did, and it's not the first time,
Mm.
but it's not a majority
Okay.
because I'm not
Sure.
focusing as you are on family businesses. So it's almost if
Sure.
one comes along coincidentally. I've
Yeah.
got another contact through networking, and she is not related to the guy that
Mm.
owns the business, but within the
Mhm.
business, they've got about 30 staff who are all family.
Oh, wow.
And I was saying to
Yeah.
God, like, God, is that some sort of hornet's nest? And she
Yeah.
said, no, it's amazing. They
Uh-huh.
all work. The guy that set it up is
Yeah.
totally committed to his family.
Mm.
And everyone that's come on board is a family
Mm.
member.
Okay then.
And I think
Okay.
she's the exception. She's like the business development
Mm.
manager, and she's the
Mm-hmm.
exception.
Yeah.
But she's saying, no, it's the most amazing environment.
Yeah. I can imagine this. That
It
it,
goes
it
well, it goes very well. It's
yeah.
one of those things, isn't it? If it goes badly wrong, it probably goes badly wrong.
Yes, yeah, yeah. And I think you make a great point to this about in my experience, and I think oftentimes we see it in literature when it gets studied and all the case
Yes,
stories and kind of experiences that people share, that when a family business struggles, it's not does not tend to be, I should say, an operational kind of hurdle. It tends to be rather when relationships break down and communication breaks down.
yes,
That's the point where it
yes,
tips and then it ripples through and now a family business and the business side is now struggling. And it can be that people lose their jobs, a family reputation is on the line, and the loyalty or
Yeah.
kind of the mission of this group of people who've completely embedded in their identity is lost.
Yes.
The stakes are huge.
Yes.
Um,
I can imagine. I mean, my experience of it is
mm,
minimal to yours.
sure.
For every 100 clients, it's
Mm,
two. To me,
okay.
it's not
Mm,
like a big percentage, but I definitely think
mm,
there are unique
yeah.
situations to be
Mm,
explored when it's a family member,
yeah. Yeah.
and sometimes it is
Yeah.
not the issue, and it
Mm,
happens to be a fact, and sometimes it's
mm,
very much the issue. But I think
yeah.
it plays a big part. It
Plays a
plays a
big
big
part.
part.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally agreed. And I'm glad that we get together to speak about the mental health side of it, meaning the
Yes.
emotions, the kind of the relational ties that are involved. Because I think that it adds another layer to mental health as a conversation and
Absolutely.
family businesses.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely. For me, it's very much if I'm working with a female client, I will
mm,
address all the same sort of issues,
uh-huh.
but how they present them are different,
Okay.
and they're usually that much more willing and open to discuss them earlier.
Okay.
But actually, the issues are
Mm,
pretty much the same. Well, they're not
okay.
quite the same because of the roles, but
Sure.
they are very similar,
Yeah.
really. But
Mm,
there's just more degree of
mm,
openness, and there's this sort of
mm.
alpha male, got
Yeah.
to get on, got to succeed, got to make the
Yeah.
money,
Sure.
got to be
Mm,
strong,
mm,
silent,
mm.
capable.
Yeah,
That's how I'm expected to be in the boardroom,
yeah,
and that's how I
yeah,
need to be when I come home because I need to
yeah,
play that part.
yeah.
And is it any wonder that we have male suicide rates so high? I
Yeah,
just think, well, it's not really because
yeah,
there's so many traps, really.
yeah,
It's not
yeah.
just men, I know that, and it's not just men in that age group, I know that as
Mm,
well.
yeah.
But as a spike, that group, and
Mm,
a lot of the reasons I believe are
mm,
around work,
mm-hmm,
status, and
mm.
money.
Yeah, yeah,
And it creates a tension. And I think
yeah,
sometimes people regrettably think the only way out of this
mm,
is to get out of this.
yeah,
And
sure.
it's terribly sad.
Yeah,
It's
no,
it's it's tragically sad
yeah,
that anybody should think that's the best thing to do.
mm,
But it
mm,
happens.
yeah,
We know it happens.
yeah. We know it happens. But I think it is key that there are people out there to support. I think that's a message that I know you and I like push so much is that like support is there. There are people
Yeah.
that actually want to have these conversations because
Yeah.
I think that's something else that when you're in it, you feel like nobody wants to hear you or
No.
it's so taboo or very shameful perhaps that people
Yes.
don't speak. I think, I mean, half my crowd like sit and listen to this stuff all day long and actually want to, or like you would actually gladly do it for free, like
Yeah.
if you didn't have bills to pay.
Absolutely.
But
Absolutely. It's
yeah,
most of my clients actually are people in work.
okay,
It's not those who are out of work, probably because of cost,
okay,
or maybe not, but they
yeah,
are people who are in work and dissatisfied, fed up. They
mm,
don't see the future. They see a lot of
yeah,
young blood. They see a lot of technology changes which people
yeah,
can't keep up with.
yeah,
They don't feel pivotal anymore to their organizations. They feel a bit like
mm,
yesterday's news.
mm,
Um, they're struggling within their organizations and
mm,
they don't see themselves being particularly valued where they are or feel that.
mm, mm,
And they therefore don't believe they're going to be of value to anybody else.
yeah,
Therefore, they see
yeah,
themselves as just pincered into stuckness.
mm,
But of course, it's not true.
mm,
Most of what they're believing about themselves is
mm,
rubbish anyway, which I'm
yeah,
helping them to see.
uh-huh,
Therefore, the opportunities to change organizations and, in
yeah,
fact, careers
mm,
becomes much more open when you're actually
yeah,
on your own side and you're
yeah,
telling the truth about who you are and your qualities and your
yeah,
strengths and your behaviors. And
yeah,
but when you're stuck in it, it's very hard to
mm,
see
mm,
how you can make those
mm,
changes.
mm,
And it's
yeah,
all about possibility versus
mm,
impossibility.
uh-huh,
And when
yeah.
you're in impossibility, there's no creativity.
Yeah,
There's no
yeah,
looking and exploring and thinking, well, maybe I could do that.
totally.
Maybe I would be
Yeah,
good enough to do that. Maybe someone would employ me to do that.
yeah,
People are
yeah,
thinking, no, I'm not even that great here, let alone somewhere
yeah,
else.
sure.
And that just
Yeah.
locks people into this. The word I hear more than, well, I hear two things. I'm not good enough
Uh-huh. Yeah.
That's my pet hate. And my
Okay.
other pet hate is I'm stuck.
I'm stuck.
I get that. I get that.
Mm.
That sense of being stuck and
Yeah.
that sense of
Sure.
not being good enough is just a
Mm.
mindset.
Mm.
So being able to overcome
Sure.
those things is
Mm-hmm.
essential for people to see a
Yeah.
broader view of what they might do,
Mm.
where they might go.
Yeah.
Ageism is another one.
Okay.
Somebody hits 50 and they think, well, I'm washed up now.
Yeah.
But it's not true. There's
Sure.
lots and lots of recruitment for people in their 50s.
Mm.
But if you buy into it, it's a self-fulfilling
Mm.
prophecy. If
Yeah.
you're redundant and you're 52 and you think I'm too old, you
Mm.
are,
Yeah.
because
With
that's how you're
that
going to
mindset.
project yourself. You're going to
Yeah.
come across as too old, even if you get an interview.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's about
Totally.
saying, no, I'm not. I'm 52 and I'm vibrant and I know
Mm.
stuff and I'm useful
Mm-hmm.
and I'm a great asset, not a lesser
Mm-hmm.
asset. I'm a greater asset.
Sure. Sure.
And it's coming over with that youthful energy, if you want to say it
Yeah.
like that. And
Yeah.
that's what you need to project.
Yeah.
So you've got to let go of that stuff around, I'm too
Sure.
old.
Yeah.
You're never too old.
Sure. But I find myself smiling because I can see that you are the person for this job. Like, you know, not only because
I
you
love
actually,
it. I
yeah,
love it. I'm
yeah,
really passionate about it, whoever I'm working with. My
yeah.
issue is I can't,
Can't charge
it's a
for it. You
well, I
struggle.
can't charge for it. And secondly, I can charge for it and I do charge for it. But I suppose what I'm wanting is to break down that barrier, which is really hard to break down at
Okay.
source, and have
Yeah.
people coming to me going, I really want to talk to you about this stuff because
Mm.
these are guys that don't talk. So
Okay.
it's overcoming
Yeah.
that barrier from day
Sure.
one
Yeah.
to get them to engage. And they
Uh-huh.
engage more on how am
Yeah.
I going to get that promotion? I can't see it
Yeah.
than
I
they
know.
are. And I'm struggling in here with that.
Yeah. I know.
Give me strategy, give me
Yeah.
answers, give me
Sure.
ideas, give me choices.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I can do all of
Yeah.
that, but I want you to be on your own side as well.
Yeah. Yeah. It sounds like you are absolutely there with them. And I feel like it's exactly as we say, it is not easy to go down that road and have those conversations. Um,
No, it's not.
but I guess last question from me is where can people find you?
All
What's
over the place.
uh-huh. Here, there, and
Well,
everywhere.
where can you find me? I have a website,
Yep.
which is www.realign-your-career.co.uk, which I know you'll
Okay.
put this out as well.
Yep.
Um,
Cool. Down below.
and that's been going through some quite significant changes, sort of
Uh-huh.
page changes and levels of detail.
Okay.
Um, you can also find me on LinkedIn, but I can't remember my full LinkedIn thing.
No,
But
that's
again,
okay.
we
It
can
will
put
be
that
down
out. But
below.
I'm on,
I'll post
yeah, Facebook,
it.
on a business page under Realign Your Career,
Okay.
um, and on LinkedIn a lot. I mean, that's my sort of channel to market really through social
Mm.
media because
Okay.
it's more business oriented, it's quite recruitmenty, it's more
Yeah.
economics, it's that whole business world.
Mm. Yeah.
So it's where I tend to talk to my
People.
client groups.
Yeah.
So you can find me on there quite a lot.
Perfect.
On
I
Facebook,
will.
some. Um, I mean, I network a lot, which is online and face to face locally. I'm Kent based. So I do a
Okay.
lot of face to face networking and I do quite a lot of
Hmm.
online networking, which is much more
Okay.
regional.
Sure.
So I'm a member of the Federation of Small Businesses and they
Hmm.
do a lot. I think that's where we met, was it online? Yeah.
Uh-huh. Yep.
And they do a lot of regional
Yeah.
networking calls. And I
Mm.
do a mixture of those, some of them, because you could do 100 and that's all you do. But I do some of those.
Oh,
And that's great because it is regional. It's not all
yeah.
Kent sort of centric.
Cool.
I think on the B2B side, the businesses that talk to me are those that I'm getting to know more face to face, perhaps. There's a more
Okay.
familiarity to say to me, can I have a little
Hmm.
word? We're struggling a
Yeah.
bit.
Sure.
What could you do to help?
Yeah.
I think that's more of a face to face thing, but it's not to say that doesn't happen
Sure.
online because somebody will set up a call with me, but it may
Yeah.
come on the back of meeting them several times.
Okay.
But I'm all over the
Perfect.
place, really, trying to attract a
Perfect.
crowd.
Perfect. People can reach out then, and I'll
Oh
link all
God,
those
yeah,
things down
please
below.
do. And on my website, there's a contact me page as well.
Cool.
It that comes through to me as an email. Just it's like just a form that you fill out, and you can just say asking for.
Cool.
I offer these things. We call them a free discovery call, which
Uh-huh.
is basically having a chat. And
Uh-huh.
it's a free call. And some coaches, I think, do charge
Uh,
for their initial calls, which I find absolutely unbelievable.
okay.
Because if we haven't got that synergy, we're
Mm,
not going to work
yeah,
together.
the
You
work
can't
hasn't
enter
begun.
into something paid for
Yeah,
me where we haven't agreed.
sure,
Yeah, this is hopefully going to
sure.
work well.
Yeah,
But that does happen quite a lot. People say to me, are you going to charge me? It's like, no.
no,
Why would I
sure,
charge you?
sure.
So anybody who just wants a conversation with me, just reach out to me in whichever way, and we'll set up a call and just have a chat about where you're at as a
Perfect.
business, or particularly so on
Yes.
the private client side.
Perfect. Perfect. Well, those links are down below.
Thank
Michael,
you.
it's lovely to have you on the podcast. And
Thank you.